So experimenting with streaming through YouTube tonight too. So that way, if anyone
Oh, nice.
is trying to get on or whatever, so it's out there, maybe it'll get some attention to the meetup.
Experimenting with tonight too.
Yeah, I had to kill that. I was had YouTube running but not muted, starting to get the echo effect going, so that's no good.
Yes, Pwn School does have a YouTube channel. Some awesome talks recorded on there.
Okay, let's see, it's 7:15, so I guess we will get started. So thanks everyone for joining. As some of you may have heard that joined a little earlier, this is the 2-year anniversary meetup for the Pwn School meeting events that we were hosting physically in Denton, Texas, but due to COVID, it's gone virtual like everything else. But thanks everyone for joining, and thanks for everyone that's continued to support Pwn School even after during social isolation. It's much appreciated. And tonight, the talk I'm giving is basically the talk I gave at the DEF CON Red Team Village. And the title of the talk is Inside the Mind of a Threat Actor, Beyond Pentesting. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Phillip Wylie. I have my CISSP, OSCP, and the SANS GWAPT. I'm a senior Red Team lead for a global consumer products manufacturing company, adjunct professor at Dallas College, formerly Richland College, and I teach web application pen testing and ethical hacking there. The founder of the Pwn School project, been in IT and security for over 22 years. The last 8 years in offensive security, doing pen testing, and most currently red teaming. Was featured in the Tribe of Hackers Red Team book, and also the co-author of the Pentester Blueprint, which is based on a conference talk that I give, and it's on how to get into pen testing. And so this is coming out actually in December, so sometime in December, and it's available on pre-order through Amazon or Wiley, the publisher's website. I'm also a co-host of the Uncommon Journey podcast with Chloe Mistoggi and Alyssa Miller. So agenda, we're going to talk about, I'm going to explain my career path, kind of show people, what my background is and how I got into offensive security, as well as what is offensive security, the different domains, intro to red team, the tools, and then kind of a red team blueprint, kind of duplicating what I did with the Pentester blueprint, but more towards red team. And then a list of resources. I got a list of some resources that I've been using here lately, things I found as I got into red teaming that I'll be sharing at the end. So my career path was kind of unusual. I started out as a pro wrestler, and during that time, I actually wrestled a bear. I had to get a steady income, and something was conducive to a family because I got married and needed to find something more steady pro wrestling at the time, wrestling once a week. And being a beginner, you don't make that much money. So I went to school to be a CAD draftsman, learned AutoCAD. And once I became a CAD draftsman, I found out about sysadmin. So I taught myself how to build computers, took a 90-day Novell NetWare certification course, and then got my first job as a sysadmin. Moved into Infosec after a little over 6 years. Then AppSec. AppSec is where I learned about pen testing and that it was something I was interested in. I was running web application vulnerability scanners. I got laid off from my job of 14 years, and I went to work as a consultant doing pen testing. And then back in November, I moved into red teaming. And so one slide I always share each semester, and this is with my students, is with great power comes great responsibility. So only hack if you have permission, and even better, written permission. Hacking without permission is illegal. And just kind of a shout out to Hacking is Not a Crime. Hacking is Not a Crime is ran by Brian McInich, that is one of the co-hosts of the North Texas Cybersecurity Group, and trying to get awareness out there that hacking is not only used for criminal activities, it's also used for professional reasons and also as hobbies. You know, when you're doing it within the legal bounds, it's perfectly legal and it's not a crime. What is offensive security? Offensive security is assessing security targets using adversarial target techniques, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, as you may commonly know them as, and also more commonly known as ethical hacking. The offensive security domains, really you've got the pen testing area and red teaming, and some of these can be used in red teaming, but you have network pen testing, application pen testing, cloud, uh, social engineering, physical security, hardware, and vehicles, and then red teaming. So there's some of these, there's kind of some overlap, and there is a little bit of okay. Okay. So we're going to get into a little more details in this. So red teaming is not pen testing. Uh, the terms have been used interchangeable over the years, and it's kind of like the same way people refer to as blue team. Not all, it just kind of generalizes defense, as well as red team has been used to generalize offensive security. So there really are some differences. And actually, the way pen testing has kind of evolved over the years, with PCI, pen tests have become more narrowly focused on, just trying to pass what needs to be tested for PCI compliance, and then leaving a lot of other things out. I mean, even like on some social engineering engagements, and this is where, companies really need to avoid this and causes pen tests to fall short. I've been on phishing campaigns to where they come up and said, no, you can't phish the CEO or the CIO or different people in other departments, other, higher ups, C-levels, and directors and so forth. And you really don't want to leave them out, because those are the people that the phishers are going after. So they really need to be aware, and they really need to be tested. But all the things being excluded from pen tests has just made it down to where red teaming become popular, because red teaming is also looked at as a full scope pen test, meaning, just about everything's in scope, social engineering as well as physical and all that. So some of the commonalities between red team and pen testing: exploitation, social engineering, phishing, and physical security exploitation. Those can be used in both. And as I mentioned, with some of the scoping, sometimes some of the things get left out. These are some common areas that are included in both, in the offensive security realm. And some of the differences. So red team, you're really trying to emulate a threat actor, and so you're trying to avoid detection, and it's less restrictive of scope. With pen testing, you've got a set amount of time. It's usually a shorter amount of time, so you're not worried about getting caught. Some cases that may be part of the scope to start out trying to be quiet and not be detected, but most cases that's not the case, and you're not really trying to emulate a threat actor. You're using some of the techniques possibly, but you're just going in, you're trying to find all the vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Whereas with red teaming, you're trying to find something that can really compromise a network, get access to to information, get access to control over systems like a real world, cyber attacker would do. And tool commonality. So a lot of the platforms you're going to see here, a lot of this is the same. It's offensive security. So you're using Windows for attack platforms and Linux, similar tools, Metasploit. Some of the big differences there is in red teaming, you're not typically using vulnerability scanners. Those are really loud and can cause, detection. So a lot of the tools are similar. You're not as dependent on command and control with pen testing, although it can be used, whereas command and control is a very important tool from a red teamer perspective. So a lot of the tools are the same. So if your aspirations are to be a red teamer or do red team, dedicated red team type of stuff, then if you're pen testing now, then you're gaining the skills that you're going to need to do that. So red teaming is scenario-based assessments, emulating threat actors, and even simulating specific APTs. So the goal of a red team operation is to simulate real-world breaches, not only in the operator testing the security of the technology, they're testing people in the process too. And one of the best quotes I saw over the years too is from Wirefall, the founder of Dallas Hackers Association, saying that the red team tests the blue team. So you're testing to see if, not only you're testing to see if you can possibly exploit the systems, you're testing to see if the technical folks, the defenders, are actually seeing the attacks. Are they blocking the attacks? So you're also testing the people, not just the people in the process, is not just the technology. And red team operations take more time to plan out and perform, and they can get really complicated. And the amount of time is usually needed more even to perform these type of activities. Red team operations rely heavily on OSINT to enumerate information on target technologies and employees. Employees are leveraged through social engineering and phishing to gain initial footholds into the target system. So, a lot of cases, you're having to send out phishing emails to get a foothold into the company. And detection avoidance is very important to be successful in red team operations. So there will be some people that internally know about what's going on, but not everyone. So you're not really wanting the defenders to know that this is going on. Management would know, and a few people will know that these activities going on. So that way, if it's detected, then they can report it up, and then management, whoever's involved, will know. Otherwise, and plus you got to also at the same time try to make sure that, if you're actually being breached too, that people can be notified and that's handled appropriately. So red teaming TTPs, red team operations rely on malware payloads to gain initial access and footholds. So evasion obfuscation is very important in this process. Command and control is an important tool used to control compromised systems, deliver payloads, elevate privileges, lateral movement, and use for persistence. And so red team ops planning. So planning red team ops can be very detailed and mapped to APTs from the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and use tools like Vector to help map those out. So red team ops can also be less complicated and not mapped to specific APTs, just using common TTPs. So it's not always has to be, if you're mapping it to the MITRE ATT&CK framework, it's going to take more time to map out those type of operations, and you can really get specialized and really look at your threat intel and find out what matches your industry better, or you can just go through and try something like a real world threat actor might do, because not necessarily they're going to be going through performing those advanced of attacks. Sometimes it's more simplified, so you can start out more simple in your planning and then move more into mapping to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And additional benefits, a major benefit of red team testing is testing the people, process, and technology. During the operation of activities are not detected, the red team can work with the security team to tune the security defense systems to detect malicious activity. Sometimes this is part of a purple teaming exercise where you're working specifically with the defenders to see if they're detecting, any malicious activity. And so if they're not catching certain PowerShell scripts, then you go back and run those as they're listening, to try to catch those and tune their systems to be able to detect those type of attacks. And becoming a red team operator, so, just like through the pen tester blueprint, you need your technology basics. So you just can't, if you're wanting to be a red teamer, you're not just going to pop in trying to hack things. You've got to understand networking, operating systems. Active Directory is really important when it comes to red team because you're trying to control systems. So pen testing, hacking, the techniques and tools of hackers is important. Programming and scripting, as in pen testing, the more you know, the better. The kind of a minimum you want to be able to modify some scripts and even be able to obfuscate and evade antivirus and stuff. So some of the popular languages used there, Python, PowerShell, and Golang is one that's very popular, as well as C Sharp. Some of the PowerShell stuff's getting detected and people are moving more towards C Sharp. And then Golang's a really nice product out there that's it's cool. It was created by Google. It's a portable executable can be created and you can compile it on, if so like if I'm running all my activities on a Mac, I can compile it to run on Linux or Windows, which is kind of nice, opposed to having to compile it on that type of system. Because one of the things you run into with exploit development or compiling exploits a lot of times is you have to have like a Linux machine with the same version to be able to compile that. So that's the nice thing about Golang. You can also, run it like a scripting language, or you can compile it, and it's pretty simple, I would say, from my experience with it. It's along the lines of Python, maybe even a little easier to learn. And so red team focused skills. So this is the other ones were more geared to generalized defensive security. So these skills right here, malware and exploit development, be able to obfuscate and use evasion techniques to bypass endpoints and antivirus. This is really important because a lot of times your initial foothold is going to be through a phishing email. So you got to make sure that those email payloads are going undetected. Otherwise, if they're not executed, then it makes it a little bit more difficult to get on there. And phishing, command and control, AD exploitation, social engineering, and physical security exploitation are also used by red team. And becoming a red team operator, so your learning path here. So the hacking skills, OSCP level knowledge is a good starting place for a red teamer. You can also sharpen those skills through hack the box, then learning some social engineering. And the main thing with social engineering, it's going to be more helpful, not necessarily have to be the physical piece, but be able to social engineer through emails, through voice calls, through phishing and SMS, smishing to be able to compromise people to be able to pull off your exploits. And learning path for red team skills. So Pentester Academy, they have the red team labs, and so these are more specific to red teaming. So they have the red teaming labs and some other AD specific labs. And eLearn Security has their penetration testing extreme course, which is geared more towards red teaming. So they don't call it red teaming, but it's a red team course. And then Hack the Box Pro, Rasta Labs. Rasta Mouse has these labs there. He started out before he started the 0-point security red team ops course. And actually, I'm currently going through the red team ops course. And these items that I'm using here are less expensive courses, because there are some more expensive courses. Out of these, Pentester, let's see, actually eLearn Security is going to run you about $1,000 to $1,200, depending on the level of course you get. You can download the learning materials at the elite level. Some of the other ones, everything has to be done online, but there's labs to go along with it. And then the 0-point security, like for a little over $800, I got 90 days lab access. And someone was asking, yeah, I'll be sharing the deck after this. I've got a PDF. And so both these last two items are by Rasta Mouse, and I'm sure, I don't know the full story about 0-point security through Red Team Ops course, but he was the one who created the course on Hack the Box, and I would assume he decided to create his own labs. But it's a pretty nice setup. You have to get like initial foothold using like a phishing email. So it's really cool, and they update and patch the labs. So you're dealing with patched systems. So that's kind of good that you're not going into a lab full of purposely vulnerable systems. So it's really forcing you to be able to exploit those systems, and gives you more of a real world feel than some labs that may have some really vulnerable applications or servers running in that environment. And so some of the different resources and tools, so APT planning, the MITRE attack framework, and then Vector. Vector is a really good tool because you can actually plan out your operations. It has the MITRE attack framework in it, so you can go through there, map out your APTs, and build your plan. So that's a really pretty cool tool. Command and control. So the C2 matrix has a lot of uh, really good C2s on there. They keep up all the different C2s. Some of the more popular ones are Cobalt Strike, Silent Trinity, uh, Covenant's another one that I didn't get on this list, but it's very popular in the 0 point security course. The two main C2s that they focus on is Covenant and Cobalt Strike, although you have to provide your own Cobalt Strike license. So like Empire, standalone or Empire with Star Killer is a good C2, and Demos C2 from Critical Start, Team Aries, they just released that probably about a month ago, and they built that on Go. So that's one that's worth checking out. They're constantly evolving it, and people from our local DFW Dallas hackers community are working on this project. So it's been pretty interesting to follow along as they're building it. So now I noticed recently they had some kind of domain hiding feature or something that they recently came out with. So it's a really interesting tool I haven't got to play around with yet, but I plan to get that set up. And so operating systems, someone was asking about that earlier and knowing the questions on the message board. So Slingshot Linux is a good one. You can download that from SANS. I believe they use it in the Red Team course, but Slingshot has Vector installed on it as well as some other C2s. So you have some other C2s in there that you can use. Kali Linux and Parrot OS are good options. In the 0 point security course, they're using Kali Linux in there. But Parrot OS is really good. I really hadn't had much experience with Parrot OS until recent months. I had to do a wireless pen test for my employer, and some of the Wi-Fi tools, due to some of the updates in Kali, just weren't working correctly. Some of the dependencies were tough to get working. So I tried Parrot OS, and all the Wi-Fi tools pretty much worked and were installed. So I'm really kind of a big fan of Parrot OS, and I was doing some hash cracking recently, and uh, I had to install some graphics drivers for the GPU card in my laptop. And actually, the Parrot OS website had detailed instructions on how to install the drivers. Because actually, Ryan Cobb has an article on his our blog post on password crack or hash cracking, and he was talking about, yeah, usually he uses Windows because it's hard to get the drivers installed in Kali Linux. I sat there within 10 or 15 minutes, had the drivers installed on Parrot OS following documentation that they wrote and published on their website. So it's definitely worth checking out. And then Commando VM for having a Windows VM with hacking tools on it. So this is a good option whenever you're installing the scripts that build Commando on your Windows environment. This will actually create protected partitions that will protect your those tools from being deleted by Windows Defender, because by default it's going to delete those tools. So this creates partitions to store those in. So if anyone's ever tried to install hacking tools on Windows, you know what I'm talking about. So they kind of set that up. So these are all really great options for your testing platform, for your attack platforms. And I would advise to have like a Windows VM and a Linux VM, both. And so some resources on courses. So we did mention some stuff on education paths, but here's a list of some different courses for red teaming. And the interesting thing with a lot of the red teaming courses, there's usually one or two courses, or sometimes they're combined. There's like a malware course. They show you how to build and modify malware, how to do obfuscation to avoid detection. And so a lot of those, some of that's second part of the course. So like for instance, with the 40 North and Silent Break Security, they have two separate courses. One of them is focused on malware development, and the other one's focused on more intrusion operations, more of your red teaming type activities. But the starting up at the top, we have the Rasta Labs, Hack the Box Pro Labs, and Pentester Academy. And it's Institute.Sector 7. They've got some really good courses out there. They currently have 3 and they're adding more, but they have a really good malware development course. And these courses are like, I think I got mine on sale for like 120, 130 bucks. I think the normal price is maybe $300 or less per course. So they have one that's on malware development, Windows privilege escalation, and then there was another one, I think more red team related, but there's 3 different courses on there. So those are relatively inexpensive. And that's one of the things I'm looking at. My company paid for my training through SpecDrops because I took the SpecDrops red team training. Here's listed the adversary tactics, red team operations. Got to take that course, but that's like a $4,000 course. So a lot of these things, I'm listing in some inexpensive ones too, because 4,000 bucks a pop, and some of these I took out, like the 0 point security, I paid for that out of pocket, as well as the Sector 7 stuff, and those have been really good. And also I've went through the Pentester Academy Red Team Labs, or actually not specifically the one that was the Red Team certification course, but the attacking and defending Active Directory. So that was a really, really good course on building Active Directory hacking skills. And eLearn Security, as we mentioned earlier. And also, if you go to Cobalt Strike's website, they've got videos and online training on there. So they've got like their course manuals, and they have training videos. It takes you to their YouTube page, which has different learning content for Cobalt Strike. It's interesting that you don't find a lot of stuff out there for Cobalt Strike, although they offer this free. And if you're working for a company, you need to learn Cobalt Strike, and the free Cobalt Strike stuff's not enough, then the SpecDrops red team training really dives heavily into it's really more or less a red teaming course with Cobalt Strike. So they really don't cover other C2s in there. They cover some other, different PowerShell scripts and C# scripts and that type of stuff, but it's mainly really focused on Cobalt Strike. And some different blogs out there. The Red Team Journal is kind of an older one, and I don't know that they're maintaining it. They're just kind of keeping it out there. I don't think they've added anything new in a while, but it's probably one of the older ones. And the Red Team Guide.guide/docs. This is by the authors of the Red Team Guide book, but it's got a lot of good information on planning, red teaming, and different cheat sheets on how to do different types of things. It's based on the book. And also the threatexpress.com was also by that author. It's got different tips on red teaming and different resources and guides. And then of course, Byte Bleeder's blog out there, the creator of Crack Map Exec, he's got some really good information on his blog. And then of course, Harmjoy from SpecDrops. BC Security, they took over support and development for PowerShell Empire. They upgraded to version 3 and they've been maintaining that. So they've got a lot of really good stuff on their site. Like SpecDrops, they're really a heavily red team focused penetration testing company. And then Rostamouse's website is a good one. HosSec is a really great resource out there, a blog. Silent Break Security, 40 North Security, and iRed Team, and Vincent Yu's website. Those are some really good resources out there. I mean, a lot of these have initial access, privilege escalation, different tool usage out there. And so as far as books, there's not a lot of books out there, although there's, the pen testing skills can be picked up from different areas. And so that, like all the books in the series of the Hacker Playbook are good, but specifically version 3 is the red team edition of their series. So it covers a lot of more red teaming type activities. And then there's also hands-on red team tactics, a practical guide to mastering red team operations. They actually cover some Cobalt Strike in here, which is good. And the red team development operations practical guide, Joe Vest and James Tuberville are the authors of that. Joe Vest used to work for SpecDrops. He recently went to work for Amazon AWS, but this is a really good guide because it shows you how to build out a red team. Different, they got like different templates on how to write your reports, because it's a little bit different than then your pen testing reports. So it shows you how to do the reports, just different planning and stuff. So this is definitely out of these books. You definitely, I would say, the red team development and operations is a must-have, and then either one of these other two books, or even both of them, are good. But it's really nice because a lot of the books usually related to technical things. They really don't go into the details of how to build build out that practice. They don't show you all the different steps. So this is really good because, I mean, this is a good book if you're building a red team and not necessarily doing the technical piece. It gives you an understanding of that and how to build out your red team. And then, like I said, anything for any of the hacker playbook books are really great, and it's really nice that they've added a red team edition. And the Gray Hat Hacking book series, their latest version, covers some red teaming as well. And so as far as certifications goes, there's really, so far as I know, there's another company that has like a red team certs, but they're all physical. There's nothing that they have really to do with the digital piece of red teaming. It's physical or social engineering. But the ones that I'd recommend is 0 Point Security's CRTO, their certified red team operator, or Pentester Academy has their certified red teaming expert, and then eLearn Security, their certified Pentester Extreme, based on their Pentester Extreme course. And so, like I said, it's labeled Pentester, but it's a red teaming course. They kind of, I think, could have done better labeling that course to get the word out on what it is, because someone just goes through there and sees that, they may just think it's an advanced pen testing class, although it's advanced pen test topics, but it's really what I would label a red team course. And then pen testing focused certifications, of course, your OSCP, OSCE, OSWE, and then the SANS certs and eLearn Security. And I've kind of got these listed out by pen testing certs, advanced pen testing certs, with like the SANS, also eLearn Security and offensive security. The second listing of the certifications on there are contain some exploit development, which is very helpful for red teaming. And then the last cert in each one of those categories for each one of those companies are web application related pen testing certs. Whereas with the offensive security, is a little more advanced reverse engineering, jar files, and .NET related files, which would be a little more helpful to a red teamer. But the SANS and the eLearn Security are more your typical type of web app pen testing certs. But good information, because even though it's pen testing related, you can use those skills in red teaming. And so there's my contact information for anyone that doesn't have it. And I will open this up for questions.
Bill, you had a question early on about your background in AppSec. Hey, Phil, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, someone was asking how to slowly transition from being a full-time AppSec engineer to a red teamer and gaining necessary skills. So one of the things you have to do there, Samir, you're going to have, what I'd recommend is start learning network pen testing. That's going to help you fill in some gaps. You're going to be able to get the footholds through applications and stuff, possibly, but then a lot of your skills are going to be helpful with building up, clone websites to try to draw people to social engineer them to a site to gain credentials or get initial access. But start working on your network pen testing skills. And that's one of the things I recently had an interview with a company, and they said that they're finding web app pen testers pretty easily because a lot of people have come in through bug bounties. So people on these different bug bounty platforms and learning how to pen test, but they're not picking up some of the network pen testing skills. Everyone's putting their focus there. And it makes sense because you're able to get, yeah, let's see here, Rick. I think you're muted, Rick. So you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Nope.
we can't hear you, but you can unmute. I think Rick's saying he's not sure if he can be heard. So yeah, so if you're okay, you're unmuted. So yeah, if you're currently, you know, doing applications, start working on the network side of things, and that's going to make you a more well-rounded pen tester. Because one of the things too, you're going to an organization, sometimes red teaming may be part of your duties. It may not be the full thing. So that may be part of what you're doing. So I hope that answers your questions. Okay, so yeah, courses at Dallas College would be a good start, and it depends on how far back you need to go. If you're not ready to start the pen testing piece of things, then they offer a lot of different security courses there. They have courses based on Security Plus, but actually my ethical hacking class is getting ready to start on the 24th. So that would be good. And one of the things I'm doing this semester too is I'm adding more. We did pen test through the other semesters. We've actually done pen tests as one of our projects, but this semester it's going to get more hardcore into the hacking piece. We're going to be using like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me VMs to hack into. So we're going to put a lot more focus on hacking. So Dallas Community College would be good. Let's see. Okay, how important is it to know to code? Do you have to be a code ninja? No, you really don't have to be a code ninja really for like red teaming specifically, even a lot of pen testing. If you can write your own proof of concept codes and do that, the better you're going to be. But honestly, a lot of us are just doing going in and modifying code, going through and trying to obfuscate, or you may get some particular exploit that works on a certain version of Windows, and you just have to modify it to work on something else. So basically be able to modify code. But if you know code, how to code, then it's going to make it a lot better. But yeah, just basically be able to modify the scripts. And so Paul says, do you think there's a higher demand for red team, blue team, or compliance? I think there's one of the things I'm going to say here with red teaming and pen testing is going to be the most popular. So people are going to want to fill those up. So people are looking for those. But I would say honestly, do what you want to do. And one of the things that one of my complaints about pen testing and red teaming is it seems really cool. So it takes everyone's attention off, and they think, red teaming is the only fun thing to do. Threat hunting, threat intel, all that stuff. I mean, incident response, all that stuff's really cool stuff, and I believe more people would enjoy it if they did it. So I think you can you're only gonna have so many testers and stuff. So places will probably have more blue team and more compliance related compliance stuff. Not a lot of people want to do compliance. So if you like compliance and you like writing reports, those are areas that are going to be easier for someone to get into. And so it's just right now, I think as far as out of the offensive security side, red teaming is going to be kind of popular because that's kind of really starting to take off. But one of the things I see is so many people are wanting to get into offensive security that, eventually it's going to catch up, and there probably won't be as many, opportunities out there. As far as courses for discounts, the only one I know of that's got a discount currently is, actually, if you sign up for the Red Team Village, and some of the other DEF CON villages had some discount codes for eLearn security, and Pentester Academy currently has like a $39 a month subscription for their Pentester Academy courses. They were supposed to be going up. They've kind of prolonged the lower price due to COVID. And so let's see some here. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, Jason's actually been through my class. Let's see. And actually, as far as people in my class, so far there's 6 people from my class that have gotten pen tester jobs. And let's see. Samir asks, how much of the red team day to day is tools and ready-made scripts versus custom writing and new tools? It's just going to depend on the person. If you can write tools, there's so many tools out there that you could use, and you'll spend you'll spend some time, getting to understand how to use some of those tools out there. But a lot of times you're planning for red team engagements, so you may have, you've got time to write tools and scripts and test new tools and scripts out. It's funny, Mark. Yeah, Mark on here, he's one of our DFIR folks, and so yeah, it's a fun area. Anyone to get into it, it's and Mark would know this story that there's someone from the community that was a pen tester, and he decided to go into digital forensics and incident response because he was doing pen test, and the clients weren't remediating these vulnerabilities. He would go back time and time again. He felt like he was wasting his time. So I mean, that's a pretty cool area to go through and be able to track down, figure out what happened on this incident response. And if you understand some of the pen testing skills, then you can use that in your investigations too. So yeah, Chris had said that eLearn Security has 35% off all red team content. And let's see, where do you see the future of offensive security pen testing? Do you think AI and ML will change the game? Everybody says, a lot of people think it's going to take away, but no, I think it's going to give us better tools to take care of the low hanging fruit. I think that's where it's going to help, because a prime example is web app pen testing tools. All these web app pen testing scanners, they pick up a lot of false positives, and you have to go through and weed out the false positive, validating your findings. But I do think they're going to get better, and it'll catch more of the low hanging fruit. And that's one of the things, like using a web app vulnerability scanner, you're able to pick up the easy to find stuff while you spend more time manually testing and using your time more effectively. So when does your web app pen test? Yeah, the web app pen testing course starts up in October, I think like October 15th or something like that. And so I'm in the process of kind of a major change to the ethical hacking class or pen testing class this semester, with a bigger emphasis on hacking skills. We'll still do a class pen test, but there'll be more focus on learning how to hack. And then we're implementing the Use Certify Pen Test Plus content, which gives you a practice test. So it gives students some labs to learn the specific skills, but then we'll be working on vulnerable VMs and doing a pen test in the class. So anyone else have any questions? So those are some really good questions. So yeah, it's been kind of interesting to get more involved with the red team side of things, because it's really interesting the planning this stuff out compared to a pen test. You just go in there, you're trying to find anything you can exploit. Yeah, I'm sure quantum computing and hacking will help things. But I think we're still a ways off from the computers totally replacing us yet. Will good guys ever be able? I think there's probably some good guys that are as good as the bad guys, but the difference between the good guys and the bad guys is, the defenders have to find the bad guys. So sometimes, if you don't know it's coming, that's kind of, up to the defenders to be able to find stuff easier. So as far as like hackers out there, there's some guys I'd say out there that are in the business that are, the good guys that are just as good as some of these, some of the bad guys. So I think it's probably just as good. I mean, a lot of these different exploits and stuff come out of the good guys too. I mean, you look at a lot of these different exploits and tools. So the difference is a lot of cases that these nation states and stuff, have money to throw at stuff. So you take some pen testing company or consulting company that's going in to do a pen test. They don't have all the money to throw at something, and they've got the bad guys have more time to test, and that's where red teaming comes in as a value, because you've got more time to test. Because bad guys, they've got unlimited time, and they don't care when your change freezes are. They don't care when your freezes for the holidays, or if it's a code change or whatever. They don't care. They're still going to hack you. So Paul says, do you prefer Infosec or Cybersec? I've been using probably Infosec for more years, but using cybersecurity more. I guess use it because it's more recognizable by more people. Yeah, if hackers had quantum capabilities but defenders didn't, yeah, that would I would think it'd give them an edge. If you got some certain tools that someone else doesn't have, then but the AI, machine learning, and quantum computing, I really don't have experience in. But I just know, like with a lot of the different hacking tools, they hadn't been able to completely replace a pen tester yet. So I mean, no one's come out with anything that could just push a button and perform the pen test. So anyone else having questions? Do you recommend becoming a script kiddie? I guess everyone, when you kind of start out with pen testing or ethical hacking, I guess you're kind of a script kiddie to start out with. But as long as you know how to use the scripts properly and know what they do, there's no shame in that. Yeah, you should learn to write your own exploits, but then you also got to learn to use them, because if you wait until you're able to write exploits, then you may be waiting a long time to be a pen tester. So that's one of the things with, like even the OSCP, you have to go through and create an exploit for the exam, but there's existing exploit code out there, and you're just going out and modifying it to get it to work. So yeah, how do infosec students find their first jobs? One of the best ways for infosec students to find their first job is is internships. That's one of the best ways, because an internship, if you have an internship, trying to get your foot in the door can be kind of difficult. My wife went to school for digital forensics, and fortunately for her, she did a couple internships, and the second internship she did, she got hired on permanently. So that's one of the best ways. Someone asked, do you have an to browse the internet for the, yeah, you're able to access anything on the internet during the OSCP exam. I guess you meaning to download tools. Yeah, fair pay for someone. I'd say someone that's just starting out as a pen tester that has no security experience or no IT experience. I would say would be like around, be the upper 50s to low 60s, because that's why I know people have started out. But the thing is, once you get a couple year, 2 or 3 years worth of pen testing experience, then you're going to be, making between 80 to six figures. So yeah, Richland College, well now Dallas College teaches digital forensics, and I think Collin County may teach digital forensics, and I think maybe UNT may have a digital forensics program, because I think they actually have a forensics lab. They had one in Frisco, I think UNT did. They actually had a forensics lab. You're welcome. So anyone else have any questions? Shit, Mark, you've been doing this long enough. Do you need soft skills? Yeah. Anyway, that Mark brings up a good important part there, your soft skills. Be able to communicate with people and writing skills, those are very important. Because if you're having a pen test done or red team engagement, at the end of the day, that's all the customer has to show for it as a report. So the better you can explain what you found, the better it is for you. Thanks, Mark. But yeah, it's soft skills are definitely important. What is the language we should focus on? Python, C Sharp, Ruby, Lua, or Perl? I'd say Perl is probably one of the least used now. Python would probably be better. Perl used to be the language of choice, but Python has so many other libraries. Uh, C Sharp is good, but I would say out of the ones you listed, I would say Python would probably be more important to know, or for red teaming, C Sharp is going to be probably more important. But the thing is, with a lot of those type of languages like PowerShell and C Sharp, once the defenses get to where they can catch those quicker, then you're going to have to find something else. But I'd say something like Python or Golang are going to be really good to learn. Yeah, Bash scripting's still good because you can do a lot of your tool automation with Bash scripting. So what a lot of people do pen testing wise is they'll write wrapper scripts in either Python or Bash that they'll chain together different pen testing tools. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Actually, I think it was Daniel Miesler during the Red Team Village talks. His talk was basically on how to do automation, and he was talking about building Bash scripts that all do certain functions, and then just kind of chain the functionality together. So you can do some really powerful stuff with Bash scripting. Yeah, understanding regex is helpful, and it's if you're doing searches on certain types of looking for certain things in the file systems or whatever, no, understanding regex is good. But you don't have to memorize it. Just having a good working knowledge, understanding how it works, and some good resources. Because a lot of stuff you just want to have good references and good notes so you can go back and do these certain things. But yeah, while your search features, regex is important. Anyone else? Yeah, grep's really good for Unix and Linux boxes. I use grep a lot. Sometimes I'm looking through files. There's certain things I like to use grep. So yeah, it's a really good. Just learning, Bash and the different Linux command lines can, is very helpful. Yeah, before we get too far gone, and so I don't forget it, I want to thank Sheldon and Rick for all their help. They're part of the reason that I started a Pwn School meeting in Denton, and so they've been very helpful helping me get speakers and and speaking themselves. And they Sheldon got Ben 10 to do a workshop for us last year, a pen testing workshop. So it's been a lot of fun. So I appreciate all the support from everyone. This is the reason we do it. It's kind of funny. I remember a lot of times going to Denton, driving up from Carrollton, and thinking, "Man, I'm tired." And I get there, and then there was, we had people that would come up from Decatur, and it's like the closest thing to them, and said, "Thanks for doing this," and just made it all feel worthwhile. But definitely, it's been fun. I mean, the cool thing about Pwn School Denton and Pwn School Dallas, I mean, there's some people that you'll see at both, but then Denton is like its own crowd, and there was really no infosec scene there, and so now there is, and it's been a lot of fun. And I really missed, going there too. Yeah, thanks for Deep East Texas Security Group attending these. They're a great group of people, and they're always looking for people to speak at their meetings. I had the opportunity to go out there last year and do a web app pen testing workshop, from which was a lot of fun. And I look forward to when we can do things in person again, because I'd like to go back out there. This is a fun little town. Okay, I don't have anything else. I don't know, Rick or Sheldon, you have anything you want to say or share?
Nothing here.
And I can't emphasize enough how helpful Rick and Sheldon have been, because there's been times I've been running late for meetings and wasn't able to get started on time, and they were able to get things started and help run the show. So they've been a big, huge help. So yeah, I just realized when I couldn't hear Rick, I had my sound turned off.
I thought you were just ignoring me.
No, it's just, man, I don't know what it is with me. And I was going to say it was limited to Pwn School, the stupid stuff I do. If it wasn't for Sheldon, people would have the wrong dates for the meetups because I put the wrong dates down. And then, stupid stuff like I got my sound muted, and people can hear you, but I can't hear you. I'm thinking, what's going on? I finally thought, because I noticed up where it says who's talking, I saw you're talking. Oh yeah, I must have the sound turned off.
No worries, no worries. I was going to help you through your questions, but you took over, and I was just clicking answered, just kind of helping you filter through some of them. But
so this is one thing you never get too old to learn. I can't learn. Sometimes it takes me. It's a challenge for me to learn simple technology like video conferencing software. But yeah, thanks again. Now that I can appreciate all you guys' help. I appreciate everyone that supported Pwn School.
we appreciate it more. I mean, we were looking for opportunities in this area, so you were able to really elevate that and get that going for us, and it's been great. I mean, like you said earlier, I mean, 2 years now for Pwn School, so it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great too, because one of the things I like that you guys are like-minded. You like to help people and teach people, so it's been great. And then really like to thank the people from the Dallas community that's helped support this. We already had a bunch of meetups to begin with, but the very first Pwn School meeting in Denton, we had over 100 people turn out. I mean, the first one in Dallas. So it's been really great, all the support. So I guess if no one else has anything, I guess we will call it a night.
Awesome. Great talk, and I appreciate everyone for joining tonight.
Thanks, everyone.